I saw your special of your show, Just For Us. Spectacular. Absolutely amazing. And I know that it is Emmy nominated, and that's why I wanted to get you in here. But I think before we begin to move on to, I think, more important areas, we should discuss the fact that you and I have a lot in common, which I found out the first time you were on my show.
Yeah.
You leaned over and you was like, I'm from Brookline, Massachusetts, and my dad's a doctor and knows your dad. And I'm from Brookline, Mass. My dad's a doctor. And we both fled that legitimate profession.
My father called me the next day and he went, "Oh, you were on Dr. O'Brien's son show the other day."
Yes.
What? And he went, "Yeah, Dr. O'Brien's son's also a comedian." I went, "This is a criminal misuse of the word also." I was like, "Yeah." And he went, "You know, he's a good doctor." And I was like, "Well, his son's a good comic." And he went, "Yeah, I would expect that because his dad's such a good doctor." You know, he's really...
I love this struggle over what our true identities are.
It was truly that, though. He was like, you know, he still practices, really comes in. It's a different, my dad, with as if it was, he's in a different grade at the school. He was like, you know, it's a different department, but he's got a lot of respect. I'm like, my dad's a cardiologist. So,
yeah.
Your
and my dad is a microbiologist.
Yeah.
So the way I've heard it, my dad's first day kind of working at Brigham Women's Hospital in Boston was, I think, 1954.
Wow.
And my dad I just saw him 2 days ago.
I hear that was 2 days before they let the women in. It was just Brigham's. It was just Brigham's before
exactly,
that.
Yeah. It was the Peter Bent Brigham then they changed it to Brigham Women's.
Sorry.
And the whole world went to hell. But yeah, he worked there from I think he worked there for something like 65 years, something crazy. But it's cool because every now and then I bump into people who sort of, obviously they know my father and they respect my father, and they're not that interested in talking to me.
Yeah. I get the same thing where people will come up to me on the street with a crazed look in their eyes. And I'll be like, "Hi." And they're like, "Your father saved my life." And I'm like, "Oh, cool.
Check out my special."
Yeah. How'd you like the show? My father, by the way, if I ever referred to it growing up, I would say Brigham's, and my father would go, "And Women's." And I'm like, "What's the difference?" He went, "Well, Brigham's is an ice cream parlor, and Brigham's and Women's is the finest medical institution in the United States." Like, he was very serious about it. But my dad's been practicing there for a long time, not nearly as long as your father, but feels great affinity for it.
It's funny because all my memories are, there's 6 kids, and my dad drove this really rusting out Chevrolet Impala 4-door with a squeaky steering wheel. And my childhood memories are my dad getting us in the car to run a quick errand, me and a couple of my brothers maybe. And what he would do is he'd go to the laundromat, he'd go to this place, and then he'd say, "I'm just going to," he abbreviated minute. And he'd say, "I'm just going to take a min and pop into the Brigham." And so he would park the car and he would go into the Brigham Women's Hospital to check on his bacteria, see what they were up to. And he would leave us in the car, and sometimes 45 minutes to an hour would go by, and then he'd come back and we'd be pissed, but you couldn't complain because he was doing, he was saving lives.
You said it was going to take a min, but it took an
It took an yeah. It took an
That was a full
But that was my memory and I was thinking, you wouldn't leave a dog in a car that long these days. But
I have this memory of my father shaving in the car on the way to work with an electric razor, but with both hands in the mirror while we're going down Route 9. And I was like, "Dad, road." He'd be like, "I have my knees, I got it." And but he's like shaving like this. Always so busy. Always. I think my dad has been on call for 32 years.
Yep.
I don't think my father has never. My father had a beeper until
my father had a beeper, and I remember as a kid, in the 70s, my father had a beeper because he was on call, and I thought, technology will never advance any further than that box on his hip that makes a noise so he can go to a payphone.
We were growing
Insane.
up in synagogue, like on Saturday. I went to an Orthodox Jewish synagogue, and my father's beeper would go off in synagogue, and you could tell who was new based on who turned on and be like, what is that very electronic noise in the no electronic day time frame? So people would turn around, and my brothers would be like, he's a doctor. He's a doctor. Don't worry about it.
Chill. Just chill.
He's saving lives.
Rebbe, chill.
Left and right.
Chill, Rebbe.
Yitzchak, shut the fuck up. You know?
I had an interesting experience because I'm obviously super Irish Catholic. I'm growing up in Brookline, Mass, and the different public schools, they had real identities. And the one I was supposed to go to, Heath School, was very kind of Irish Catholic. All the kids played hockey. It was kind of where I was supposed to go. I don't know why. I think my mother had gotten into a fight with someone at the PTA. Something happened. And it started with my brother Luke. He was sent to the Driscoll School. The Driscoll School in Brookline is surrounded by literally on four sides, there are like four temples.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was predominantly Jewish. And I was the kind of, oh, look, there's this orange-haired kid named O'Brien.
Yeah.
And isn't this funny? He's Catholic. So I was invited to, I think I went to definitely many, many, many more bar mitzvahs than any other confirmation or anything like that. And the parents all thought it was hilarious that I was there. And they would like pinch my cheeks and go, look at this, you know, he's here. This is crazy. Look at his hair. And I don't know. The whole thing was, I remember feeling very exotic in a town where there are plenty of Irish Catholic kids, but all my friends were Jewish kids.
It was so funny because you went to BHS, yeah?
Yep.
So Brookline High School was like, it was 2 minutes and a whole world away from me because I was raised Orthodox. And so I remember watching the show when I was like 9, 10 years old, being like, he went to BHS? And I was so jealous of the kids who went to BHS because in my mind, not only did they not have to pray 3 times a day, they also let you host a talk show on national television. Like that was my conception of everyone who went to BHS. I'm like, eventually they get to either general manage the Red Sox or have their own television show.
Pretty much the entire class.
Yeah. It's like, wait, does everyone take a turn? Because there was like hundreds of kids in that school, you know?
No, we all got, it was guaranteed if you went to Brookline High. And so... But that was a great lucky thing for me because I think very early on got very comfortable around Jewish kids and really kind of...
Which helped with like Jeff Ross and stuff like that.
Exactly. Because who knew? They run show business with an iron hand.
I've got to make a phone call real quick, but...
Our producer, yes, it did. No, but it was a nice accident for me that I went to Driscoll School, I think, and then just I became sort of more involved in going to bar mitzvahs, things like that, because I remember thinking, and this may sound strange to you, but it all felt so much more relaxed than Catholicism. It felt a little more, I don't know what, and you may not feel that way, but it felt
I
more,
definitely don't. But,
okay, all right.
Yeah, no. But yeah, but like I totally, it's so funny. Brookline does feel like sometimes people say that New Yorkers seem Jewish, even if they're not Jewish, or something about the milieu of it. And I always felt sort of similarly about Brookline, which is that it was, if you were from Brookline, you were both Jewish and a little bit sort of Boston Irish Catholic at the same time. Like you had, because you go to synagogue and you have these thick Boston accents, you know. I have like a fervent memory of like being in synagogue, and there's a part on Friday night services where you turn around and they open the door in the back of the synagogue and everyone says a brief prayer towards the back of the door and then you turn back. But I just remember someone hesitated getting the door, and someone in the congregation in the middle of very, very like distinct Hebrew prayers, they went, "Stephen, get the dawah!" And I was like, how someone with like the voice of like a Father O'Leary, "Stephen, get the dawah!" Like 6 syllables in door. Dawah! Get the dawah!
How did this guy get into the temple?
Yeah. I was like, wait, that's the rabbi?
Yeah,
like, yeah, that's the rabbi.
It's the rabbi, Sean. Sean Hanlahan.
Oh my God.
I just love the idea that the rabbi's going on and on about the Bruins.
He's like, all right, kid. So Hashem has this problem. You know?
But first he's got to go to Dunkin. What? Dunkin?
There was a kosher Dunkin down the street, and when it opened up, it was like, oh my God. The headline in the synagogue newsletter was like, man lands on the moon. Like kosher Dunkin opens on Route 9.
There's a kosher Dunkin?
There's a kosher Dunkin on Route 9, and we were just blown up. By the way, everyone was excited. I was like, wait, what's not kosher about Dunkin' Donuts?
I know.
No,
yeah. Finally, someone got the shellfish out of the donuts.
It's lard. Apparently, it's lard. They put lard in the donuts.
You know, I've gone to that Dunkin's. I think I know which one you're talking about. And I've enjoyed the donuts, not knowing that they were kosher.
The first time I was lucky enough to do the show, the TV show, I did stand up, and then you were like, come over and sit on the couch. By the way, blew my mind. And I remember being like, don't cry, don't throw up, just like do the thing. And I sit down, and we're sitting there talking about like little Brookline landmarks and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, the house with the yellow roof. He's like, yeah, the house with the yellow roof. And like, and afterwards I came off, and my friend Morgan, who came with me, was like, what were you guys talking about? I'm like, if I told you, you'd either be upset or think I was lying to you, or just like wouldn't make sense. Like little tiny places in Brookline. There's such a neighborhood. It's such a
thing. And I still get sentimental. I as I said, I was just there this weekend, and still driving around and stopping off and going to the old spots, and it's very powerful. But I don't know if you had this experience. It's a wonderful place to be from. But when I was 16 years old,
couldn't wait to leave.
All I did was, and I actually said to people, I can't wait to get out of this dump. And it was because I was very ambitious and 16, 17, like, I got to get out of this shithole. You know, like I'm from some...
Which you immediately accomplished by going to Harvard.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, boy, you really fled the coop.
I sure did. God. You know what I did? I hopped on a train like a hobo. I went 6 miles to Cambridge.
I got to spread my wings and take the 60 bus. 7 stops. Literally, I know how they... Do you know, by the way, Boston, though, is a great place for me to grow up, because I think maybe it's a specific time. Maybe it's a specific time I grew up in, but people, like my parents, genuinely were just like, they gave me a pair of rollerblades and let me go. And when I was like 11 years old, I would just like rollerblade around and like take the train and take the bus. And like, if I was interested in comedy, I would like sneak into the Lampoon archives, because those kids were always drunk guarding the door. And I would like sneak into like go to the county library and see like Sergeant Shriver and Doris Kearns Goodwin speak. And like, it was that time. And I was at the Red Sox all the time because I got a job there. And that was the perfect time. The city was just medium sized enough that you could eat almost all of it if you were like curious enough. And I worry that like, I don't know, there aren't many cities where like parents give their 11-year-olds a pair of rollerblades, because nobody rollerblades anymore anyway. That one homophobic joke killed it. And then like you just like and just be like, get out of here, go find something that you're interested in.
I don't think it's the city though. I think it's the time, because I was just driving down Route 9 2-3 days ago. My brother Neil's in the car, and we pass this little shed, and I said, oh, I used to wait for the bus there when school was over in 3rd grade. Myself, Virginia Chapman, and Isabel Zimmerman, we were this little tiny 3rd graders, would walk down to this little shed and wait for a city bus to come by. Not a school bus, a regular bus, and get on it and then take it down to the stop that dropped me off at my house and then them at their houses. And I thought, my wife would never let our kids in 3rd grade, like when your day at 3rd grade is up, wander down to the highway and get the bus that goes into Boston, and just make sure you get off on your stop.
Yeah, see if you can hitchhike if it doesn't work. You know? Just like try.
Yeah, if there's a van, just get in it. Maybe he's got candy.
I hitchhiked home all the time, genuinely. Like the T would stop at like 12:15. And if I wanted to stay, I'd be like, I'll just hitchhike. I'm like a 16-year-old, 15-year-old at like a comedy show.
Right.
At like a Dick Doherty's Comedy Vault or something like that. And be like, hey, the show's going to 12:30. I'll just be like, anyone here want to take me, a nubile young teen, home? You know, like, just very... Sorry.
I'll make it worth your while.
Oh, no.
Well, come on.
on, it's the way to get a ride.
So he was the actual predator in this situation. Okay.
So, for the people from Brookline listening, this has been a thoroughly enjoyable.
Yeah, sorry. Can we put this at the end and everything else?
This episode is actually just going out regionally.
Yeah. So. Now for Newton.
So what do you think of Wellesley and Sharon?
Yeah, we're going to work our way slowly out until we get through the entire United States.